Hey everyone, welcome back to Work-Life Wellness. In this series, we're joined by Heads of Wellbeing from leading global organizations who share their expertise, experiences, and actionable strategies to enhance employee wellbeing and foster a thriving culture of wellness. Today, we're joined by Steven Forti, who's the Chief Wellness and Resiliency Officer at the Hospital for Special Surgery. During this conversation, Steven dives into the impact of burnout, psychological safety, and how leaders can harness the power of AI to improve employee well-being. Hey Steve, how you doing, my friend? I want to start by talking about why is well-being so critical to talent management, but I want you to specifically talk to how you're harnessing data and technology and empowering your talent.
People think about burnout and they think about this physical state, and I don't even know what word we want to use today to describe it, whether it's burnout or hopelessness or fatigue or whatever, disengagement. It's completely irrelevant. But what we have right now is when individuals are not seen and they're taxed, they're in this state of sort of disarray or disengagement or hypervigilance. And what leaders are doing when people are allowed to stay there is they're, in a sense, spending their cultural currency. You've worked hard to establish a culture, hopefully a positive, safe culture in an environment. And the more chaos exists in that environment, you start spending that currency. You start spending people's psychological safety. And that's not okay. So instead of having people come to work, instead of people referring their friends to work, instead of people engaging on an appropriate professional and personal level, you have a disenfranchised population among your workforce that you're trying to lead. You have a bunch of people that aren't even in the room, right? You're in the state of hypervigilance, nobody's focused, nobody's present, they're not even in the room. And you're trying to solve the complex problem over whatever the entity you work for exists for. And the efficiency is dropped down and the ability to adjudicate problems and communicate across this environment is completely diminished. So when you get to that state, that's when people start feeling unsafe, and that's when people start seeking an exit. When people feel safe and welcomed, when they feel like their opinions are valued and they can meaningfully contribute to a culture and a workplace, they're not going anywhere. They're bringing in the people that they care about. They're bringing their best and their ideas. But conversely, the minute they don't feel that, they start looking for a safe harbor. They start leaving. They stop recommending the people they care about and the talent they know about come to your workplace to better the environment. And that's what no leaders in any company could afford in this day and age where retention is so difficult in every industry, let alone healthcare.
I love that. Could you talk about some of the practical ways that you're bringing that to life through technology?
Sure. We have access to data that we've never had access to before. So if we look on the industrial side, we have a great deal of data. Okay, that's a no. We have a great deal of data in terms of people's work time and people's using Teams, how many meetings, and we don't have to invade people's privacy to get to the trends and the core of this. And there's tools available both to the individual for insight into how they're spending their day. What are their most productive hours? How many hours a day are they working? When's their first text message on Teams and when's their last? Hate to break it to you folks, that's your work day. Right? And if that's 16 or 17 hours, well, that's your work day. It's time that's not your own. So we have that data that generally speaking goes unused. And that was sort of some of the data that we began to tap into. And again, maintaining privacy, which is easy, but using anonymized data to understand how departments are operating. And that leads us to things like too many Teams meetings. Let's stop doing Teams meetings from 12 to 1 every day. Across the board, understand exceptions have to be made, but generally speaking, that's policy. And then the CEO endorses that. So that's on the industrial side. And there's lots of things like that we have the data points to that we can lean into. And then there's the individual data piece, right? So we've run multiple cohorts now of something we call the Resiliency Project. We gave individuals wearables, okay? Whether it's wrist or ring-based or whatever it is, we gave them wearables and we gave them a coach. Okay, and we began to show them where they are on a daily basis with quantifiable data and then implementing strategies to show them how we can improve those numbers. So without getting in the weeds in those numbers right now, where we might lose some members of the audience, we can look at different things like sleep depth and duration, total sleep time, right? Sleep quality. You can even look at heart rate. And we train our people to look at heart rate variability, which is the measure of how sort of upregulated one is. So regardless of what wearable you're wearing, the variability is the key thing, and more variability is good. Really simply stated, higher the variability, okay, the more safe you are and the more safe you feel.
What advice would you give to those well-being leaders that are going to be sitting in your seat one day?
You need to be doing things that are measurable. We've got robust technology available to us, and we haven't even begun to unlock how we can use that data, okay? AI is going to unlock a great deal of it for us on an individual level that will cater to the uniqueness of our corporate environment or our industrial environment. We need to begin leaning into that space now. Stop waiting for someone else to solve this data problem and identify the things that we can do that create healthier individuals that lead to a psychologically safe environment. And from that, it's got to be measurable. We got to hold ourselves account to our own KPIs. So having staff members that aren't sleeping is unacceptable as a leader. Having staff members that are working or accessible 17, 18 hours a day is not acceptable any longer. And the data is available. And we need to be holding the mirror up to ourselves as leaders and saying, what can I own? All right. And how do I own it? There are things we cannot, but we can certainly measure the effectiveness of our programming rigorously. And most importantly, live the life that we're asking others to live. If we're out preaching about low light and technology and social media and those things, if those that are following you and looking for your leadership are seeing you posting at 11:30 on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, you're not going to be taken seriously. Yeah. I think we're stepping in the right direction for wellness. I think we are among the people that should hold ourselves to the highest of standard for the moral obligation of self-care.
Amazing, man. I appreciate you taking the time to share. I'm grateful that we connected. Thanks a lot, man.
Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. As always, if you want the full picture, make sure you download WellHub Work-Life Wellness 2025 report via the link in the description. Until then, have a great day and we'll see you next week.